to look at, very much in the same way as Vicky looked at the Islamic threat to our values, the homosexual threat is the same thing. Free speech is being taken away as we hear lawfare, right? We may not be getting our throats slit, but legislation is being passed all over the place. Equal opportunity laws, anti-discrimination laws, vilification legislation, it's all doing the same thing, and its purpose is all pretty much the same. To get Christians to shut up. I mean, that really is, they probably don't say this is what we're writing these laws for, but that's the effect. To get you to be quiet and not speak up in the public arena, right? They're all, well, that's it. And that's all coming, as we'll see in a moment. So we're just going to look at some of the ways in which we are losing our freedoms. Again, Islam we could do the whole weekend on. It's vital. I've got about 200 articles on Islam on my website, so I agree. It's a big one. But then again, I've got about 400 articles on homosexuality, because at the moment, this is really the fight. Faith, freedom, and family is actually what your conference is on. They're all under threat big time because of, a very small minority, actually. And again, as much of a war as if there are planes from Germany coming over to bomb London, as much of a battle and a warfare. The casualties are just as real in many ways. So it is a battle, it is a war, we have to be aware of it. Now it goes without saying in both cases, right, as Vicky would say, and I was at YWAM this week trying to explain this very thing to my students. On the one hand, we love and pray for and seek to win to Christ, right? Individual Muslims, individual homosexuals, atheists, pornographers, you name the issue. We're trying to, as Christians, win them to the gospel, love them, pray for them, right? But we can and should resist their political agenda. Now, hard to do. How do you get the balance? Not always easy, and I get attacked all the time, right? We can try to reach our homosexual friends, our Muslim neighbors, but we have every right to resist the agenda, which would shut down our freedoms and our democracy. So, trying to get that balance to happen may not be easy, but then again, nothing worthwhile in a fallen world is easy to do, but that's what we're called to do anyway. So this really is a war. And the biggest thing I want to refute today, and I've certainly tried to do that in my book, is you'll hear all the time from the activists that, hey, don't get worried if we get homosexual marriage, we get special rights and so on, adoption rights, this won't impact you. This will have no effect on you. It's all good. Don't worry. Just live your life. Be happy. As we get all these special rights, it won't impact on you. Well, the truth of the matter is they're lying through their teeth when they say this. They know that everything changes when special rights are given to them. And that's exactly why they're doing this. They want to shut us down. They want to silence our voices as they seek to normalize their lifestyle and their relationships. So that's one of the many lies. I mean, right? The 10% lie is a big one. I'm born that way. I can't help it. I've got chapters on all of that here, fully documented. So again, I encourage you to grab the book for the details. But this is the lie we're going to target today, that nothing will change. In fact, everything will change. And all we have to do, and my talks are always easy. Whenever I get asked to speak, I say it's the easiest thing in the world. All I do is go to the daily newspaper, clip a few headlines, my talk's done, right? Well, that's what Vicky had. I know she had. There's a bunch of headlines. And I've got the same headlines, and So it's easy. So if you want to get in this business, it doesn't take much. You just read a few newspapers, clip a few headlines, you've got your talk. Piece of cake, right? Now, mind you, it's not that easy because you've got every demon in hell not wanting you to do what Vicky and I are doing. So you need 24/7 prayer cover. So I covet your prayers. Vicky covets your prayers, right? This is not just a political or ideological thing. This is ultimately a spiritual battle we're involved in. People on the front lines like Warwick and Vicky, Dwight, come on, every demon in hell is after these guys full time. So you don't go into this without a 24/7 prayer team. Otherwise, you're toast. You're not going to make it. I mean, I've got enemies. I get hate mail. I get death threats. And it's one thing if I were Joe Smith As it is, I'm Muehlenberg, the only one in the whole country, right? It's true. I've looked in your Perth phone book. I've looked in Adelaide, Sydney, Brisbane. There is no Muehlenberg anywhere except in Melbourne. 24 Balfour Avenue, Heathmont, right? So if my enemies wanted to find me, they can do it easily. They could have firebombed my home a long time ago. As it stands, I'm the only house on the street with kind of a stone fence, and I believe that's a symbol or a picture of the fact that God has got his protection. In fact, I'll tell you this, I believe God has got a host of angels around my home. I really believe that, right? The only reason I'm still here, my family is still safe, the house hasn't been burned down, I believe God has got that hedge of protection. And you guys, if you get into this, or already are, you got to have that, right? So anyways, easy job. We'll look at headlines. That's all. 20 minutes, I'm out of here. And by the way, I could do this all day, right? I've just got a few, right? A few examples of zillions of the war against our freedom and faith. So let's begin overseas, and then we'll move into Australia. So we'll just go quickly. We do want to keep on schedule, so I'll just go through these. You can see them for yourself. We'll begin just last year, right? If we went any further, we'd be here till next Wednesday. So just a few from overseas, this time the UK, right? Christian cafe owner, his own private business. Back of his cafe, a little video machine playing Bible tapes, right? Homosexual walks in, sees a bit on homosexuality, makes a stink. Please come and say you can never show a Bible video in your own Christian cafe again, right? Is that a clamp on Christian freedom? You bet it is, and that's one example. We just got started. 20 minutes from now, you're going to be on the floor saying, what's going on here? How did this happen in such a short period of time? New York, one of the first American states to legalize homosexual marriage. Now already we've got lawsuits for those refusing, right, to be involved in homosexual weddings. Holland. I lived in Holland for 5 years as a missionary with YWAM, and that's where I met my wife. She came from Australia, I came from America. Got to Holland and did missions and got married. So that's why I'm here. If you're wondering what I'm doing here in your country with my strange accent, although of course I think it's you guys who have the strange accent, but that's another story. So we were in Holland for 5 years, and here, first country in the world, right? First country to legalize homosexual marriage, 2001. Also the first country in the world to legalize euthanasia. I mean, this is a basket case, right? It's got the red light district, marijuana cafes, you name it, it's Sleaze City. It used to be a great Reformation country, right? We got some people here from the Reformed faith. It used to be a stalwart of Reformed faith. Today it's a decadent sleazeball nation going down the tubes real fast. So anyways, just last November, Dutch MPs voted. Change to the law, everybody, all right? It doesn't matter if you're religious or not, you will conduct homosexual marriages in Holland, okay? Iowa, small little conservative state, middle of America, right? I mean, Iowa, that's Midwest, that's conservative. Here you got a cake maker. Really, I mean, I don't know if we got any bakers here or cake makers, but in Iowa, you can get lesbians knocking on your shop door saying, we want a wedding cake, and you can say, well, and with all due respect and good conscience, I can't do that. There's a great bakery just down the road. They'll do it for you. No. These guys targeted the Christian cake maker, and now they're facing a big fat lawsuit simply for standing up for their own Christian conscience, right? Salvation Army. You all know about the Salvos. Here in, might be the UK, and this is happening again this year. It happened last year. It's happening, I just saw it yesterday. They want to shut down the Salvos and their Christmas fundraisers. Why? Because they are terribly evil. They believe marriage should be between a man and a woman, right? For having that heretical belief that marriage is about a man and a woman, the activists want to shut down the Christmas fundraising of the Salvos. So, Vicky talked about lawfare and warfare and ideological jihad. We've got it here just as much everywhere you look, right? Wisconsin, that's me. I'm from Wisconsin, right? Okay, that's my home. Another conservative Midwest state. Here's a 15-year-old kid at school. Simply writes a little piece for the school paper on homosexual adoption. Right now, he's threatened with suspension. Any of this happened to you when you were in school? You stand up for marriage and you are threatened with the boot, right? Get kicked out of school. This is crazy, right? Wisconsin. 15-year-old kid can't even talk about adoption without a threat of suspension. Back to Holland again. All Dutch schools, Christian, pagan, you name it, all Dutch schools must teach pro-homosexual classes in school, says the cabinet, Dutch cabinet. That was just February of this year. Sweden, if you criticize homosexuality in Sweden, you're going to, prison ministry, right, as we heard. It's one way to do prison ministry. It's not my cup of tea. I don't really want to spend time in prison, but I believe unless we stand up and be counted, we are heading that way real fast, right? Where if we simply stand up for our beliefs, we're going to spend time in jail. And the European Rights Court said, that's fine, absolutely fine. You dared, in fact, it's happened. We had a pastor, right, in Sweden, gave a sermon, Romans 1, from his own pulpit, like, standing here, probably two hands on the pulpit. Romans 1, prime example of God's wrath, homosexuality, right? Simply preaching a sermon from Romans 1, he was thrown in jail in Sweden. So coming soon to a pulpit near you, really, it's coming. And I again guarantee it, it's happening already. Maryland, American state, 14-year-old girl, right? Homeschool kid. Gave a testimony before the state senate on marriage. Now she's getting death threats, right? Now I get death threats, as I said. I don't like it. I like to live, But a 14-year-old girl is getting death threats for simply standing up for marriage, right? Things are going down the hill real fast. Canada, that's a bad place. They got homosexual marriage as well. Alberta, diversity education. Whenever you hear the word diversity, you know it means only one thing, pro-homosexual. Right? That's all it means. And they're talking homeschoolers. Any homeschoolers here? Huh? You think you're safe. The public school, it's lousy. They got all this junk going on. I'm going to homeschool. Well, in Canada, they're going to target the homeschoolers. So you can't even avoid the PC baloney that they're pushing on people. Spain. Bishop there simply, again, gave a sermon on homosexuality. He's now being prosecuted by the law. That's Spain, right? Scotland. I was just talking to somebody about the Gideons, right? The Bible, hotels, schools. The police will now not accept Gideon Bibles. Why? Because it's a book of hate speech. Do you know your Bible is a book of hate speech? It is. Homosexuals say it has anti-homosexual stuff, therefore it's a book of hate speech and it should be banned. So that's exactly what the Scottish police, at least, have already done. That was just in April. Kansas, back again, Midwest. Churches will be forced to host drag queen parties. Is your church ready to be forced to do this? It'll come soon enough. Christian blogger in the UK under investigation by the state. Why? Simply had a pro-marriage ad. Now, I'm a Christian blogger. I have ads. I had ads about your conference. I could be under investigation, right? One day, just, telling people about a lousy conference, you can be investigated by the police, at least in the UK. Where are we at? New Mexico, the state of, in the U.S., here's a court saying Christians will be forced to violate their own conscience and beliefs on the issue of homosexuality. In fact, here, a photographer, right? Christian photographer didn't want to do a homosexual wedding. Said, here, I got a good buddy here. He'll be happy to do it. Nope. $7,000 fine for standing up to your conscience. Okay? Denmark. Churches will be forced to perform homosexual marriage. Right? Wherever you look, we're losing freedoms big time. Where are we at? UK, I believe. Schools will be forced to teach pro-homosexual propaganda. New York again, Catholic school, right? By the way, they not only say that none of this is going to impact you, but there'll be all sorts of exemptions and exceptions, right? Churches, you'll be okay. Christian conference centers, you're all good, no problem. Again, they're lying through their teeth right now as we speak. Australia is looking to standardize all their discrimination legislation, right? Get it into one big happy federal package. And already every lousy homosexual group and activist group and lefty group in the country has put in a submission saying we must not have any exception or exemption for Christian schools. Are we in a Christian school right now? Okay, no exception for you guys. No exceptions for churches. That's being pushed right now in Canberra as we speak. No exceptions whatsoever. So same thing here. New York, Catholic school being hammered by the state. Toronto, again, Canada, school board encouraging little primary school kids how to cross-dress. Now, when I went to school, there was stuff like, reading, writing, arithmetic, but that's not in anymore. Today, you learn how to cross-dress and worse in school, right? Again, why many homeschool today? And this is kindergarten, right? British Columbia, also Canada. Christian bed and breakfast owner, might be some of those here. $4,500 fine. Why? They said they'd rather not rent out their place to a homosexual couple. So, $4,500 later. Chick-fil-A, I don't know if you heard of this one in America recently. It's a fast food outlet, right? Red Rooster kind of thing, chicken. Chick-fil-A, the guy who owns it is a Christian. If you're hungry for Chick-fil-A chicken on Sunday, you're out of luck, right? Well, somebody said we shouldn't use luck, but anyway. You can't get it because he closes on Sunday. He's a Christian. He thinks we should be closed at least one day a week. So he's a committed Christian who owns this chain. And he also believes marriage is between a man and a woman. And for that shameful belief, there's been a big homosexual protest against Chick-fil-A, right? So here, for example, in Boston, the mayor of the place says, we will not allow you to open up a Chick-fil-A. All because of the personal beliefs of the guy who runs the company, right? So here's a mayor saying, you can't, as a small business, have freedom to open because I don't like what you believe about marriage. Now, what are we talking here? Is this North Korea? Is this Cuba? Right? No, this is America. Ever heard of the Constitution? Stuff like that, Bill of Rights? This is America. We're losing our freedoms every single day. And you're saying, boy, I'm glad I don't live there. Wait a minute, we haven't got to Australia yet, so just hold on to your hats. We're going to get here real quick. You guys aren't doing any better right now. By the way, on Chick-fil-A, there's an American actress, Roseanne Barr, you might have heard of. She's a mean piece of work, as are almost all the activists. They talk a lot about tolerance, but hey, they are not tolerant. Not at all. They hate your guts. And they would love to see you dead. Well, at least she does, right? I can't repeat what she said, but she said, if you eat at S-Filet, you deserve to get cancer and die. That's what she said. You go to this Christian chicken place, I hope you die. And this, by the way, is the voice of tolerance and acceptance and diversity, right? Really, Vicky said the same thing. They're talking all over the place. Diversity, acceptance, tolerance, and they're the least tolerant, least diverse, least accepting group in the world. So whether it's Muslims, homosexuals, they're both bad news. They don't mean a word of it, not a word of it. Where are we at? Chick-fil-A again. This is North Carolina. University wouldn't allow them to open a little franchise on the campus, right? Because you believe evil things about marriage. Canada again. 8-year-olds are now being taught in Canada that, did you know there are 6 genders, right? Foolish you probably thought, there's just 2, male, female, but come on, you guys are not with it. There's at least 6. In fact, according to the radicals, it's fluid. It's a social construct. You float in and out of it every day. Today you be heterosexual today, tomorrow homosexual, next day bisexual, following day transsexual, right? You can be whatever you want. You want to wear blue dress today? Fine. Red dress tomorrow? Heterosexual today? Homosexual? And this is being pushed in the Canadian school curriculum. There's at least 6 genders, right? Again, in the old days, reading, writing, that's passé, that's out. Now you get cross-dressing in 6 genders. That's what they teach in school today. And you wonder why we're going down the tubes? Vermont in America, Catholic couple, 30,000 smackaroonies. Is that big bucks, you guys? Who's got here 30,000 happy to give away? 30,000. Why? They didn't want to have a lesbian couple use their place for a reception. $30,000 they were fined. That's a lot of money. I don't have that much money. Even if I sold every one of these books, I still wouldn't have 30,000. Even if I took Vicky's money for her books, I wouldn't have 30, right? Well, hey. By the way, if you want to write books and make money, at least you and me, that's not the way to do it. Anyway. England. Teachers in England face the sack if they refuse to endorse homosexual marriage. Is this freedom? Is this freedom of conscience? Freedom of speech? No, it is not. Ontario again, back in Canada. Here's one dad who's suing the school board. He said he's sick and tired because they got these lousy pro-homosexual sex ed classes. You can't opt out as a parent. Kids have to do it. Like it or not, you got to do it. So here's one guy who said, I've had enough. He's suing the school board. So we need a lot more guys like that around here, right? We're going to have to start maybe doing legal challenges to all this stuff. Pray for Christian lawyers. We're going to need all the help we can get in these areas. Ontario, again, Christian minister forced to conduct homosexual marriage or get the sack. Church of Christ. Franciscan University in Steubenville, America, under investigation for teaching that homosexuality is deviant, right? Simply take the Catholic Catechism position on homosexuality. You can't do it anymore at a Catholic university. You'll be investigated for teaching Catholic social ethics, right? Seminary professor in America, not quite sure which state, under complaint because of his beliefs on homosexuality, right? You can't even teach at a seminary, a Christian seminary anymore, if you believe the biblical view on homosexuality. France, they're as well now looking at homosexual marriage, and they're saying there will not be allowance, right, for conscience. Everybody will be forced to embrace it. No conscientious objection whatsoever. UK again, another bed and breakfast couple, right? They've suffered 2 years of hate mail, death threats, abuse, loss of income, all because, again, Christian conscience didn't want to give their B&B for people to do their thing in their bedrooms. Fair enough. That's what you face when you take a stand today, at least in the UK. Where are we at here? Maryland again. University has punished a staff member for simply signing, in their own time, own place, a pro-marriage petition, right? You sign a petition elsewhere, you'll get in trouble with your university in America. That was just last month. Bed and breakfast again. This time, Swiss bed and breakfast in the UK. £3,500 fine, £3,500 fine for, again, holding to Christian conscience. New York, rural New York, for heaven's sakes. A farmer is now being sued because he didn't allow his farm, I don't know why you'd want to go on a farm anyway, but to host a homosexual wedding. So you're not even safe if you're a farmer anymore, right? I mean, this is ridiculous, eh? And by the way, that's not a rhetorical question. You should all say, yes, this is ridiculous. Can I hear one or two? Come on. Yeah. Hey, all right, come on. Let's get excited here. Come on, this is bad. This is horrendous. I'm going to do this all week with my students. I say, come on, you got to get excited. This is not good stuff. We're losing our freedoms big time. We can't sleep through this one, right? Texas pastor, right? Jailed for preaching at a homosexual pride march. Right? Homosexuals can do their thing, run around half naked, sodomize each other in public. That's good. But if you're a Christian who wants to witness at this event, you'll get thrown in jail in America. Come on, you getting worried yet? A little bit? Huh? Come on. Where are we? Washington State. This is November. Here, a transgender male has been allowed to share a locker room with young children, young girls. And the stupid judge said, if you don't like it, tough beans. These little kids will have to share that with this transgender male. All right? Catholic Charity, where are we at here? UK. Adoption agency closing down, right? After how many hundreds of years doing great work with adoption, because they refuse to allow homosexual adoption, they got to close down. They can't do it anymore because of the fascist laws, the gay mafia, as we call them, in the UK. Hamilton, I believe that's Canada again. Parent has no right to know what a homosexual activist taught their children in a classroom. Judge said, no, you don't have a right to know what your kids are getting from the activist. Just because you're the parent, for heaven's sakes. What gives you the right to listen to what's being taught? Come on, who are you? This is a judge in Hamilton. Where are we at here? Couple, I'm not sure where actually. There's a lot of pro-homosexual books for kindergarten kids, primary school. And here's a school that's being sued, right, for wanting to simply allow parents to have permission first as to whether they approve of having these stupid books in the library, in the classroom. And now they're being taken to court. Obama judge, who just got back in, he appoints a new black homosexual judge. Why? Well, we obviously have millions and trillions of homosexuals in America, so we, of course, need many more homosexual judges to reflect that reality. When, in fact, as I document here, we have never had more than 1.5% of the population homosexual. So at best, you should have 1.5%, right, of judges. But, Obama's working overtime to push the homosexual agenda. This is bad news, and that was just, a few weeks ago. Where are we at here? England. Primary school teachers could be kicked out if they refuse to promote homosexual marriage. Primary school, right? Teach the little kiddies, this is a great thing, great lifestyle. Otherwise, you're going to lose your job. Where are we at here? Teacher plays pro-gay marriage song for her 8th grade class. I think that was in America. Might have been Utah, I forget. Why are teachers not doing stuff like arithmetic and reading? Once again, it's pushing stupid homosexual propaganda. December, hey, come on. This is a couple of days ago, a week ago. Alabama Department of Education is investigating a school about the Bible and homosexuality. Here's one guy came in, simply taught what the Bible says. He's now under investigation. Okay, you say, boy, the world's in a mess. Good thing I live here. Well, sorry guys, now it's your turn. Give me 5 minutes and you'll be on the floor if you're not, already. Now, some of you can't sleep. You're up 4:30 in the morning, right? Turn on TV. You'll get the American televangelists. One of them, the Copelands, you may be aware of. Here's the scoop. One day they had a little segment on their show about homosexuality. Homosexual watched it, complained to Channel 10. The show was pulled the next day. You'll never see this show again. One homosexual made a stink about one little segment. The program has been banned forever. Talk about censorship, talk about freedom of speech under attack. Now, by the way, have you ever complained about a TV show ever? Did it get pulled the next day? No. Why not? What's wrong with you? Huh? Don't you have the clout that the homosexuals do? I guess we don't, right? Maybe next time you complain, you say, oh, by the way, I'm a homosexual. Maybe see if that does any good. I don't know. Right? Church camp, this is back in Melbourne. Brethren camp, right? Didn't want to have a homosexual group on the weekend, $5,000 fine. Now, how many campgrounds do you think are in Melbourne? Right? 100, 200? Why did they specifically target this one? Huh? Was it a setup job? You bet your boots it was. Queensland. Here's a doctor, good man. Some of you guys know him, David Van Gendel. He was asked to write for the Courier Mail, a piece on marriage. Next thing you know, the lousy discrimination board takes him to task for it. Asked to write on marriage for a newspaper, and then the stupid discrimination board says, oh, this is evil. So there's David Van Gendel, a good man, doctor, family doctor. under investigation. Next day, Miranda Devine, the columnist, wrote a piece about it. She quoted him, she quoted me. It was so bad, in fact, you might know Ron Boswell, great senator, Queensland. He gave a whole speech in the Senate saying, what is going on here? You can't even write a stupid piece on marriage without being threatened by these clowns in the discrimination board. He was angry, and rightly so. Come on, where have we gotten to as a country when you can't even talk about marriage? Margaret Court. Anybody know about Margaret Court? Just happens to be the greatest tennis player of all time, right? She's now a pastor. She's here in Perth, has a church, right? There's a thing called the Australian Open. Anybody hear of the Australian Open? Okay, come on. Tennis. We're talking tennis, right? Every January, there's the Australian Open in Melbourne. This time, the homosexual activists wanted to shut it down. Why? Because they dared to want to name a court after Margaret Court, right? And there's her little statue thingy. For daring to do that, the homosexuals were all up in arms. Why? Because Margaret Court believes, and I know this is going to sound pretty wild, she believes that marriage is between a man and a woman. Can you believe that? In this day and age, there's a tennis player who believes marriage is between a man and a woman. Well, of course the activists were up in arms. How dare you believe that baloney, right? I mean, come on. What is going on here? Where are we at? Sydney. Policy changes. Homosexual couples get married, come back here. The government, Julia's government, is going to make it nice and easy for them to do it. Church, New South Wales. Full of graffiti. You maybe can't see it here, but he simply had a pro-marriage message. Now his church has been attacked by the gay thought police, right? Here's Queensland again. There's a Labour guy who was supposed to be running at the last election. He got the boot. Why? He simply said stuff about homosexuality. Preacher in the University of Southern Queensland, American preacher, was meant to come, but you no longer have academic freedom in Queensland. If you are a Christian and pro-marriage, they won't let you speak, okay? Again, Queensland, Bob Catter was running. He took out a little ad on TV about homosexuality. An ABC radio presenter in her own time used her voice for the ad, and our taxpayer-funded, that's you, GayBC, kicked out the gal for daring to use her voice on her own time for this ad, right? Port Phillip, back in Melbourne, they don't fly the Australian flag there anymore. They fly the homosexual flag. So when your sons and grandsons go overseas, give their lives, shed blood for freedom, it doesn't count, at least in Port Phillip. Australian flag sucks, but we're happy to promote the homosexual flag. All right? Here's a meeting. I don't know if you can see the picture too well. There's two people there you should know. One we just mentioned, Margaret Court, right? The other guy, he's standing right in front of you now, right? So you ought to recognize him. Margaret said, Bill, come to Perth, speak at my church on marriage. So I did. So on your left, you can see all of the posters that were splattered everywhere on campuses in Perth, right? Bigots are coming to town. Let's get them. Don't let those horrible bigots speak. So, of course, we had a big, fat, hairy protest at Margaret Court's church back in April. And, you know, the only reason that meeting went ahead, maybe a few of you might have been there. Anybody go to that meeting? All right, okay. The only reason it went ahead is we had to spend big bucks to get security guards to make it happen, right? And the police were there, and the riot squad was on standby. Now, what did I say? Where did we speak? North Korea? Did I say that? Cuba? Syria? No, Perth. That's you guys. This is your city, okay? You need police, riot squad, and paid security staff to hold a meeting like this. In fact, I'm wondering, where's the protest? What's wrong? I mean, I don't see anybody anywhere, huh? You guys must be, you're ahead of the game or something, but I couldn't speak there in April. We had to run the gauntlet, right? And you can see on the right, the security guard with the earplugs, as the demonstrators are screaming in their face for the whole evening. This is where we have come to as a nation. We used to be free and democratic Australia. Guess what? Not anymore. And if we don't wake up and start doing something, make a stand, we're going to lose the whole bit. Like I said, that's why I spent 20 years working on this thing. We got to be armed with information and ammunition to fight the good fight. Almost done, guys. Victoria, psychiatrist, questioned over his stance on homosexual marriage. I know him, a good Christian man. He was kicked out of his position. Lost his position simply because he said children deserve a mom and a dad. For that horrific thought, he's out of work. All right? Salvation Army again. Here's some gay pop star, Darren Hayes, whoever he is, says, let's ban the salvos because they're evil. You know, that marriage stuff again. That's evil. St. Kilda. Anybody here watch footy once in a while? Come on, AFL football. Here's St. Kilda, Stephen Milne, $3,000 fine. Why? He simply said something about homosexuality. You can't do that anymore. You say anything critical, you will be fined, right? So again, we got Gay FL, by the sound of it, totally PC. Daily Telegraph, Sydney. Students in New South Wales high schools are being taught it is heterosexist to believe that men and women are different. Do you know that? Kids are being taught this is evil, right? It's right up there with the Holocaust, racism. Men and women are different. They're all evil. You can't do that. Look at that. 12 high schools. Homophobia, transphobia. This is all the baloney. Again, they can't read, they can't write. They come out of high school totally illiterate, but they sure know about their transphobia, right? Newcastle, right? That's kind of close to you, maybe, or something. A blogger has been $11,000 fine given to a homosexual simply for saying stuff that the homosexual didn't like. Hey, I'm a blogger. Come on. I don't got 11,000 clams, but that's coming. So, there's a war going on, as you may have gathered by now. And if you haven't gathered it, you're either dead or you've been sleeping through this whole talk. We're in big trouble, and it's getting worse by the day. Freedom of speech is under attack. We're losing it every single day. And one day, you know, your daughter is going to say to you, Dad, what happened to freedom? Right? And you say, well, I sat by, I watched it, and I tried to present nothing was happening. Right? Too many Christians are snoozing right through this whole thing. Now, you may have heard of this guy, Lutheran pastor. He died under Hitler. Right? He put it this way, silence in the face of evil is itself evil. God will not hold us guiltless. Not to speak is to speak. Not to act is to act. All right? We all know the scoop now. We know what's going on. Vicky's told you. I've told you. Warwick's going to tell you. Dwight's going to tell you. You need to know all this stuff, and you've got a whole day full of it now. So now you can't say ignorance is an excuse. You know. The question is, what are you going to do? We've got to take a stand before we lose it all. Now, that's what I do. That's Culture Watch, a bit of shameless self-promotion. I've left my pamphlet on your chair if you want to get in touch. Have a look. That's what I do. But there's a battle going on. If it's not Islam, it's secular humanism. If it's not that, it's homosexuality. There's a war going on, and the real trophy in this war are our children, right, and our grandchildren. The reason I do what I do, by the way, I shouldn't have been here this week. I'll finish on this. I've been here 2 weeks now, but there's a real question whether I should. And rightly so. You see, my mother-in-law was dying in a hospital in Melbourne. And my wife said, well, you know, it'd be kind of nice to have you here, but I know you should be there. So on Thursday night, she died in a hospital. And I called Avro and I said, well, you know, I can jump on the first plane if you want me to. She said, no, you stay there and you finish the job God has called you to do. So I'm here by God's grace and her permission, all right? But the reason I do this, you know, it's not for fun. It's not, we're making money, not that we enjoy the hate mail. I do it for 4 reasons, as I always say. One, there's a guy who hung on a cross 2,000 years ago who gave everything for me. How can I not do anything less in return, right? The least I can do. And the other 3 reasons are simple. David, Peter, Stephen, right? I got 3 boys. I'm worried sick about them. And I don't want to see them inherit a world that's going down the tubes. I will fight for them until I die. And I hope you do the same, because we're in bad shape, right? Getting worse by the day. So with God's grace, we can make a difference. That's why we desperately need the Australian Christians. That's why I'm glad to be here. And may the Lord bless you guys heaps. May Vicky and Dwight and 100 of you get into Parliament next year. So bless you heaps. Thanks very much.